Part 2. I'm Hallie Phillips.
I'm Casey Clark.
I'm James DeLizio.
I'm Charlie Heatherly.
And we are going to be reviewing the latter half of Stranger Things, Season 3, which I know James has a great synopsis of.
Yeah, the events we're going to be covering in this episode pretty much are going to start at the hospital attack scene versus the little mind flayer sludge monster thing, all the way through the end of the season, which I'm sure most of you who are listening know exactly what's coming there. Once again, just like the last episode, I'm saying this after I run down the plot. Major spoilers if anyone hasn't finished this season yet.
Yes.
That's kind of, I guess, why I didn't say anything about the end of the show in my little synopsis. But yeah, please go watch these last 4 episodes before you listen to the rest of this podcast. Go do that.
I would be shocked if you clicked on this video and had not watched the latter half of Stranger Things and also wanted to watch it, but, you know, spoilers, good.
Especially because the video says, like,
Is
part
Stranger
2.
Things good? Yeah,
It's like
part 2.
Like,
You're just jumping into the middle of something that you have no clue about.
yeah, watch part 1 before you watch this one as well, just so you can see us talk about the first 4 episodes as well. Yeah.
But now that we got all that amazing self-promotion out of the way, does anyone have any thoughts they'd like to share? Overall view of the movie? Casey, anything?
It went down. It was the most stressful 4 episodes, like, ever. And I feel like this is where all of the, like, plots got a little, like, jumbled because you had all of the little subsections that kind of went a little crazy because then you have Erica, Dustin, and Robin, and, you know, the Harrington going down. They're, like, stuck in the Russian base underneath the Starcourt Mall. As in our previous episode, we were talking about how they were working on deciphering the code. And so deciphering the code leads them to a secret room, and then they're stuck underground in this giant Russian base. And then you have Hopper and Joyce on the side who are getting chased by Arnold Schwarzenegger Part 2.
Yes.
Only Russian. And they don't kidnap. Yeah, they do kidnap. They kidnap a scientist named Alexei.
Smirnoff. Oh,
Smirnoff.
I love Smirnoff.
Rest in peace,
Rest
my boy.
in peace.
Oh, I was gonna cry, guys. You've no
I
idea.
really was.
I was gonna cry.
Bob could never. This was way more.
You're evil, Bob.
Yeah.
Come on.
Okay,
dude.
that's Bob's James.
But everyone knew he was going to die from the very
Sam
first
Ganji,
episode.
Did you know
No,
that,
He was
James?
such a killable character.
Yeah,
Like,
he was too nice.
you
it's
loved
like, you're
him.
not going to survive.
That's the thing. You loved him,
I was supposed to love him.
and you didn't, James.
No, that's what I'm saying. He did his job.
What? This man died. He did his
Wow.
job. I'm
Yeah,
very...
yeah.
Woo, go plop.
Fell in the line of combat. It's
Yeah.
fine.
Our spot is still open, guys.
Yeah.
Looking for a new host. I really loved the second half of this season. I liked it way more than the first half. I know for the first 4 episodes, I was still very on the fence of whether or not I wanted to continue watching season 3. I was tempted a couple times to put the show down and take a break. But
Wow.
in these last 4 episodes, hoo boy, there was no stopping. I definitide binged them all late night just because I had to finish it. These last 4 episodes, crank it up to 11. I did it again.
Look
I crank
at
it up to
him.
11.
There you go.
And there's just so many cool, fun moments. Very climactic, very big. It feels like the end of the show, honestly. Like, they go out with a bang, even though there's, I think, 2 more seasons promised.
Heck
They promised
yeah.
a 5th season?
I think they've promised 4 and 5.
Really?
Let's
I
go.
But, I mean, I honestly was, like, fully ready for it to be the end of the show. Like, it was just that climactic. I think the quality was on par with, like, the finale of season 1, only just on a much grander scale. I do have a couple of gripes. Very small gripes, but just, like...
He's bringing out a list right now of all the gripes that he
Yeah,
has.
I made a list
It's a
from,
scroll.
while I was editing
It's a
part...
scroll.
Yeah, the old Dead Sea Scrolls. While I was editing part 1, I made a list of things that we said we would talk about this time, to make sure that we talk about all of them. So we're going to be hopefully running down this list pretty soon, but that's pretty much all I've got to say on my thoughts.
Oh, yes. The conflict definitely kept rolling. I mean, can we just talk about the hospital scene? I mean, that was
Yikes.
amazing.
That was crazy.
I
cool.
loved that. It was so action-packed, and the fact that oh gosh, their names are escaping me. Jonathan and
Nancy.
Nancy. They were separated, but yet they came kind of aligned and separated and aligned again. I thought that was awesome.
Mhm.
I loved
yeah.
it.
Hospital scene had a lot of cool stuff. And it
Oh,
was
yeah.
very creepy.
Face melting.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah. I keep on turning away from the microphone as I'm talking.
Your voice is just gonna be like whoop.
Yeah, this is going to be a fun time. Yeah, but the hospital scene was so creepy. Like, more, I'd say it's more upfront, like, scary than anything we've seen before
Yeah.
in Stranger
Oh,
Things.
yeah.
And I think that's something they definitely dialed up in this season is they made it actually pretty scary because when people said, "Oh, you better watch out, Stranger Things, season 1's a little scary." I was a younger person, but even then it was, completely fine. Wasn't that terrifying?
Just monsters.
Yeah, just monsters. This one you get to see some dread on the side of the characters where it's like lots of emotional problems that they have to deal with while they're going through these incredibly extreme situations. And I think that's one of the best things they managed to do is they managed to combine the hardships of personal relationships. I'm moving my hands a lot. I know you can't see it. But the hardships of personal relationships with just the existential dread of a monster that might kill you at any moment and is taking your friends one by one and combining it together into a weird gelatinous blob thing.
Oh, yeah. Like, just the upfront, like, almost gore in the season was very unsettling. And the flayed, I thought were very creepy.
Very
like,
incredibly.
All the possessed goo boys.
Goo boys?
Were just
Boys.
very
That's a
not,
trademark right there.
very not fun. Yeah, we're not calling them the flayed. I'm calling them goo boys.
Goo boys.
Very creepy. Mrs. Driscoll.
Oh, I hate
She just looked so.
I hated her in a good way because she just
Ooh.
creeped me out beyond.
Very.
When she ate the
chills.
fertilizer, I think I like recoiled in my seat. And I watched this season twice through. I binged it twice through because I'm just that kind of guy. But both times the show had the same effect on me. I think I teared up less at the ending the second time around because I knew it was coming. But the first time around, the first time that you get Hopper's monologue at the end, not his death, quote unquote, but Hopper's monologue, that's what got me.
Yeah.
Because at its core, the scariest and most hard-hitting part about this series isn't the monsters, it's the emotions behind the characters. It handles humans in such an incredibly intuitive way that you just get to see the people around you sort of represented by these characters and the hardships that some people face represented by those characters in such a beautifully done and well-written way that the whole season astounded me in every way, and I thoroughly enjoyed myself.
Monsters are pretty scary too, though. Not gonna lie.
But do we really think Hopper is gone?
No.
I believe he's just in the
Absolutely
upside
not.
down.
No,
you know?
they go ahead.
Okay,
Yeah.
so, as I said last episode, I have a theory. Okay, so, in the scene after Hopper throws Arnold into the
Machine.
and he just gets, like,
Gah.
splatted, and he looks... I even, like, as I was watching it, I was like, he's not gonna die. They can't kill him. Like, I feel like he's gonna hop through, like, the...
Hop because he's hot.
Hopper.
Get it? Through the crack, like the gate
Yeah, the
that
gate.
they were opening to the upside down, because you never there's certain things that, like, I watch a lot of horror shows, and so it's like until I see a body, they're not dead.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
like until I see a body, like, he has to be alive. And then if you wait to the end credit scene, you see in the Russian jail when they're going to get someone to, be fed to that big Demogorgon, that they say not the American. So I think that the American's Hopper, and that when they opened the gate, he hopped through, but then they were able to open it again when they got the Demogorgon, and Hopper just, like, kind of, like, came through, and they've been keeping him as a POW, if you will.
Oh, yeah, I definitely agree with your, like, it's almost an unspoken rule at this point where if someone dies off screen, they're not dead, right? There's always room to bring them back, and that's seen time and again. And about the whole American prisoner thing in Russia, I think my base instinct is that it's Hopper in there. I for sure agree with you there. But, like, a part of me also thinks that it could be Murray, because you
Murray?
don't really see what happens to him.
Oh, yeah.
After-
guy that can speak Russian.
The guy that
Oh,
can speak
okay.
Russian.
That's his name?
Interesting.
Really?
Murray, I think, because you never really see what happens to him after they're getting out of the lab.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I feel like Murray is safe, and if it is Murray, I'm glad, because they should not bring back Hopper. And this is coming from a person that absolutely loved Hopper in every single season. If they bring back Hopper, it undercuts the entire emotional attachment I had to the final climax of this.
Yeah, I agree, but I also think, like, at this point, they can't not. Or else it would just be, like, if they don't bring him back at this point, it'll just be like, wow, they gave Hopper a really crappy death. Like, they just kind of cut away.
Oh,
It's
he
like, yeah,
sacrificed himself
No,
to
but, like,
save
I mean
everyone.
the literal sequence. Like, it's like, oh, he's just off-screen died. Like, you
Yeah.
Yeah, they hinted at it way too much not to bring him back.
Yeah.
Which is a mistake on their end. They should have killed him and be done with it, because that's what Stranger Things does, is they kill characters that have an impact on the story. Like, in first season, you loved Barb, right? Like, she was probably one of the most likable characters in the show, because I honestly hated Steve in the first season. I hated
Oh, yeah.
Steve.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes.
Such a horrible boyfriend. So when
yeah.
Barb is calling him out on all that, I was like, oh, I love Barb. And then when they killed her off, that's when you know, oh, nobody's safe. Oh, this is a show that is willing to take risks with its characters. Not to a Game of Thrones extent where, like, nobody is safe at all, but, like, to, supporting characters are 50-50 on whether or not something will happen.
Yeah, the main cast definitely has their fair share of plot armor. The amount of
Yeah.
times,
Yeah,
the
the
amount of
kids.
times I've seen the kids and Winona Ryder's character just get slammed around.
Yeah.
It's like, how are you not dead, man?
Bones of steel, those
Yeah,
guys.
honestly.
Solid. They're made out of the same material that Aladdin is.
Oh, speaking
Ooh.
of slamming
Teflon.
stuff into the walls,
Yeah, speaking
No,
of slamming things,
that
James.
reminded me. I thought
This
11
is a
was so
family
much
podcast.
cooler in this season.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
And I
Mhm.
think it comes down to, like, in previous seasons, her powers were a lot more abstract, almost. Like,
Mhm.
she would just scream at things and then they blow up.
Which
know?
now she doesn't have any powers.
She doesn't have any powers now,
Yeah.
but I think the reason I found her fight scenes so much cooler in this season is, like, they almost made her powers more tangible. Like, a
That's
little more,
true.
That's
Like,
true.
It's less of a I have magic instant kill you powers, and it's
Yeah.
more like this is a fist fight between two, like, supernatural
Mhm.
things.
She has, like, the Force now, and although it's still sort of a nebulous thing on how strong she is, you get the sense of, like, okay, she can do this, she can handle this situation. Where you're entirely right. In the other seasons, like, you didn't know what she could do.
Yeah, it's kind of she was kind of like almost an ex machina kind of.
Mm-hmm.
But in this one, it's like, oh, cool. Like, watching 11 slam stuff around and them actually being able to fight back is a lot cooler than she just kind of ends the fight in one
Yeah,
second.
when she has actual opponents to go against that can, like, match her toe for toe, you're so right. Like,
It's a lot cooler, I think.
mhm. It also did have an inverse effect with me where I was like, okay, well, what's the point of the kids now? Like, they're just incredibly useless. Like, Lucas sure is incredibly good with a slingshot.
That's on my
MVP.
list. Yeah,
Oh, that's-
on the list. Is
Okay,
me.
what's specifically on the list for Lucas? Let's cover that right now.
Oh, it just says we wanted to talk about Lucas being an MVP.
Oh
He's
yeah,
just cool.
straight MVP.
Mhm.
Yeah.
There's this post going around on Instagram where it's like, Lucas saved the Stranger Things group 4 times, and all of it's like absolutely destroyed people with a slingshot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
he drew away the mind flare when he
Mhm.
popped the balloon. He chopped off the tentacle thing in the house.
Mm-hmm.
He shot Billy with the wrist rocket in the sauna.
Yeah.
Lucas is like the only one of the human. 11's human, I guess, but he's the only one of the normal kids who actually can do something.
Yeah.
And his firework idea worked.
Oh,
That
that was
was
the coolest.
genius.
That was the coolest scene.
No.
Such a good
Yes.
fight
What-
sequence.
Oh, it was so good.
It was so. It just looked really cool. Sorry, I have kind of a bad cough. I don't really know why.
Mhm.
It's leprosy.
It
He,
is-
he's dying. That's why we need another
It's-
member on the podcast.
Yes,
is-
with the spot's still open. We're accepting applications via
Mhm.
Instagram.
He can't stop scratching himself. It's very dangerous.
It's-
Dots, the
We're
balls.
afraid for our own safety. So
Yeah.
if this is the last episode, then you know what happened.
It's an okay. It's an okay way to go out. The fireworks scene was so cool. It just looked really awesome. Like I just think visually it was one of the most like no, I say that word
Potent?
too much.
No,
say that word too
poignant.
much.
Potent is a good word to
It was-
describe it.
Poignant. Yeah, it was
Poignant.
just one of the most.
There you go.
Cool.
Yeah, some golf
Thank
claps
you.
over here. There we
Thank
go.
you.
It just looked awesome. I think the visual effects were out of the park with this one. It looked like
Mhm.
movie tier. Like this could have very
Straight movie tier, yeah.
Mhm.
very feature film level.
Yeah, they didn't Doctor Who it. I love Doctor Who, but some
Ooh,
of their
yeah.
special effects aren't the best.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I
Do
can
you-
agree.
Do you think there was a point, like, I personally couldn't see a point where, like, the CGI ever, like, the quality of it?
No,
Oh,
never.
no. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like there was one part in the hospital, and it's where the monster is like turning down into sludge to slide under the door. That looked just the tiniest bit like weird to me, but I mean overall it was consistently high quality.
Casey's gagging
And
at the
just
mere
like,
thought of
"Bleh."
it.
It was so gross. Honestly, the only thing I like could have yearned for a little bit in the visual department was
Yearned.
was more practical effects, but that's kind of hard
Yeah.
to do in a show like Stranger Things.
Oh, for sure. I mean, like, imagine practical fireworks in that final scene. I mean, I know the actors would be in serious danger, but who cares? It would be a good shot if it was practical fireworks. But, like, you're so right. Like, get Christopher Nolan in there, have him slap some kids around and be like, we need to get some practical
Kids
things
around.
going on.
Yeah, I think actually things like the
I know in the original season, sorry to cut you off, I know in the
No, no,
original
no.
season they do have practical, or maybe it's not, it's either one or two. They have this shot where the truck is stopped by 11 and then it flips over or something like that.
oh yeah that was practical. I remember
Yeah.
seeing behind the scenes stuff of that. But I mean also like the monsters too. I always think that practical
Mhm.
effects look way cooler than CGI.
Mhm.
Hallie and I were actually watching a little bit of Aquaman the other day,
Ah,
and we
yes.
like made a note that completely like just completely randomly it was just on and we made a note that it in the little bit we saw they were very good with using practical effects and it worked in their favor. Like
It did.
it looked a lot more
Really?
believable.
Okay, because I saw the entirety of Aquaman in the theaters.
Yeah,
Oh.
me too.
It was most certainly a movie, and
Yeah. Yeah.
it was the second best DC EU movie, mostly because.
Ooh,
Shazam.
Oh no, you're right. Shazam, third best. Sorry,
Shazam was great.
I
because
didn't
Wonder
see
Woman and
Shazam.
I'm not sure which one is better between Wonder Woman and Shazam. That's another debate for another episode. But my problem with Aquaman is that I thought some of the CGI in it wasn't actually that great. Especially towards the latter half, they go like full like King of the Monsters. They bring in all these giant like sea horse things and like this weird behemoth like creature from the
Yeah.
depths comes up.
Nice Aquaman tangent though.
Yeah,
Way to
very
go.
good Aquaman. too.
So yeah, practical effects are cool. We get very sidetracked on this show. I'm realizing now.
That was like less than a minute of being sidetracked though. The
fair.
fun is in the scenic route, as I always say.
Yeah, the journey.
By always say, I mean I made that up right now.
The journey is greater
Then the
than it
destination.
is. Maybe the real podcast was the friends we made along the way.
Speaking of the friends we made along the way, the best scene in that entire season was for me the never-ending story scene.
Oh,
Susie's
man.
real.
So
So
good.
easy.
Oh, I
Yeah,
loved it.
ooh, It was very like
Never-ending story.
yeah. Man.
There you go.
Yeah, oh, Charlie,
I'm
your
so
pipes.
sorry.
His pipes.
Amazing.
I
No, but, like,
apologize to everyone.
Like,
like-
I didn't get the nostalgia because I've never seen Never-ending Story.
I know the horse dies in a swamp.
Spoilers.
How? Okay.
No.
I'm quitting.
But, like,
actually.
it
Two
was-
spots open.
it was
everyone.
so-
Spots open.
It was so much like it was just filled with childhood wonder and joy, and it was such a great juxtaposition with the monster chasing them at the time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because you were on the edge of your seat, and then they're like, "Oh, they're singing Never-Ending Story." It's so fun, and you're letting out that nervous laughter
Mhm.
as you're going along. And then, yeah, it's just such a good bit of television that they managed to do there, where they paced it perfectly.
Chekhov's Susie.
Chekhov's Susie, yes.
I'm glad they brought her back. I mean, me personally, like, I enjoyed the Never-Ending Story scene just because I'm a sucker for any musical scene ever in a movie. Pace your scenes to a song, and I'm gonna love your movie. But
Mhm.
it was like, part of me couldn't get like, I hate to use the word cringe.
Oh,
It was cringe. It was
Ugh.
that's definitely what they were going for, like a good kind of cringy, but just
not even. I loved that. That was unironically amazing.
Okay. Interesting.
Fight me.
I don't know. Just to me, it
Not
like
again.
it was a little. I guess it felt a little bit jarring to me. Like it kind of it stopped as soon as it started. I feel like if they relished in it a little bit more, it could have been.
It went on for a while.
But I
That
mean,
was
like it kind
a
of just
whole
like
minute.
it kind of
Mhm.
just like boop done, and now we're back into this grisly, like season finale thing.
They eased it in with the Planck's constant thing, and I think that's what they were trying to do.
Yeah.
Is that was the bridge, like that was the transition that connected the playful Susie with the actual mission at hand.
Yeah. It just like, I guess it just kind of felt like a little strange insert that like it's a scene that's ripe to be clipped. You know, like
that's
it's
true.
very
No,
easy
I
to
understand.
take it out of the rest of the show.
Mm-hmm.
I still enjoyed it. You know, it's just there's a lot of little things in this season that just like I personally don't totally agree with.
I would like to point out one little thing, and this is just to make James embarrassed here, but he didn't like this scene because you could clip it out, right? It felt very incongruous with the rest of the film. In the amazing in the Spider-Man 2 movie, he loved the Doc Ock scene in the surgery
Here we go.
because it felt so different from the rest of the film. I just wanted to point that out. I just wanted to get one last punch in.
Still a sore loser, ladies and gentlemen.
Ooh.
That's what we call a sore loser.
Alright.
Let's keep moving
My
right
parents are
along.
fighting.
Let's talk about what comes next with Stranger Things.
The buyers, they moved.
Yeah, how
Yeah.
are they going to deal with
I
that?
really don't know. Like I was saying, I guess this feels so much like the series finale. Like it felt like the show was over. I feel like if they didn't put in that after credit scene, I totally would have believed that this was the series finale, and I would have been satisfied.
See,
with it.
I didn't get that. When I was watching it, I was almost like, maybe it's because I was looking at it from a monetary point of view. I'm like, there's no possible way Netflix will not continue this series. It
Right,
made
yeah.
so much bank. But like, also I feel like Eleven's plot line is unresolved, and that would have been a really bad place to stop her at.
Yeah, they kind of.
They left her with an identity crisis. Now that her power's gone,
Yeah.
she has no
Yeah.
self.
Which is why I think it's a
am
great point to continue it for, like, that's her conflict for the rest of the season, is that now she's just one of the useless kids.
Yeah, they left enough.
Yikes.
All of the kids are so useless. I want to talk about that in a minute.
Mike's emotional support.
Continue.
Continue.
They left enough room to continue, but I also feel like they tied it off enough to end. Like they opened this new path for 11 to grow, but they also showed that she's kind of coming to like accept being normal a little bit. Like she can ask people for help now, right? And like she's learning how to do like accepting that she's normal, I guess. But they definitely left enough room to continue. I just don't know how they're going to continue. Like, I don't know how we keep the plot of the kids moving. Because, like, having, the friend moves away, that's, like, such a cliche, like, classic movie ending. Like I mean, like, life goes on. You know?
Okay, do you know how I think they're going to do it?
It's very Stand By Me. Yeah,
what they're going to do is they're going to split it up into the two towns, or they're going to bring the buyers back. I think bringing the buyers back would be sort of like, what's the point?
Yeah,
But
that's what I'm scared of.
I think the Upside Down is going to follow both 11 and Will, who have a very strong connection to that, right? So it's going to follow them to wherever they are. So that's going to either be A or B plot, whichever one. And then the other plot's going to be back at Hawkins. Something's happening. They do need to find a creative way to make it so that it's not just monster, again, because that's how it's been for basically 3 seasons now.
Yeah, it's a little repetitive.
And it's like, the Upside Down's coming back in, like, the Russian thing was very interesting.
Yeah.
I think the Cold War aspect of it was a very creative way to do it. They just need to find something, and genuinely I can't really think of a plot that won't involve the Upside Down besides maybe like somebody gets stuck in it and we get to explore the Upside Down from there.
Ooh, I would
That
love to
be
see
cool.
that.
I would,
love that.
I'd be down for that.
Yeah. Oh, like when you see like Billy in the Upside Down,
Yeah.
like all the flayed, and it's like,
Yeah.
alright,
Yeah, I want to.
this is what I came for.
Yeah, I want to know what it's like living in the Upside Down.
Maybe
how on,
we'll explore that with Hopper. Maybe.
Taxes are lower there.
How on earth did Will Byers survive for all of season 1 in the Upside Down? What did he eat? What did he,
You don't want to know, James.
I
You don't
believe
want to know.
Will single-handedly hunted down like.
Yeah,
Gemma
how did
dogs.
he survive?
I don't know.
We don't.
It doesn't really matter though. He's back. You know.
Yeah.
Speaking of Will,
Great haircut.
man,
Oh, that's not what you're going to go
great
into.
haircut.
Okay, sorry.
No, gosh, poor Noah Schnapp. I sincerely feel bad for him.
Snap.
Schnapp.
What a great name.
They keep killing like.
They keep killing him? Is
No,
that
like his character, like I feel bad because he's such a good actor. And,
Yeah.
But Will's character is just being murdered by the writers. Like,
very boring
Yes.
character.
I mean, in seasons 1 and 2, he was
The guy.
arguably not a character.
Yeah,
was a
he was a
plot
plot
point.
device.
Oh, for
Yeah,
sure.
He was a plot device.
And now he's kind of a character in season 3, but his like his motivation is I want to play D&D and touch my neck, and it's like really.
And touch my neck.
He was like, it's sort of the same reason that I don't love Frodo, at least in the movies. They really spend the whole time.
Oh, I've been shot through the heart. I'm sorry.
They spend the whole time as a warning to the rest of the characters who can do stuff. Like they.
God, I want to fight you right
the
now.
ring
so
glows.
hard.
I'm not talking about book Frodo, and I love Lord of the Rings.
No, movie Frodo. Yes.
They
Still disagree with you.
Frodo touches the ring. Uh-oh, guys. The ring wraiths are here. I'm gonna go hide. You guys who can fight, take care of it.
Mhm.
Stranger Things. Will touches his neck. Uh-oh, guys. Mind Flayer's here. I gotta go. You guys, let 11 handle this one.
Well, and yeah, and this will be my last thing before I start letting other people talk. I know I've been hogging it, but
We do that a lot.
we do that a lot.
I'm sorry.
It's because
It's
we're
a-
such alpha males, James. We're just so cool. You know?
So.
What was I gonna say? Oh yeah. So I think that Will is going to come out as a character in the 4th season.
He better.
Come out.
Well, not maybe
out.
maybe come out.
Maybe he'll come out.
Maybe he'll come out, but I think that because your thing with Frodo is that he was you're right. He was sort of plot devicey in the original sort of not original, like the beginning of
Yeah,
the
mainly
trilogy.
talking about Fellowship.
Yeah, but towards the end, he starts to grow with Samwise as this sort of like very interesting, like, oh, I can depend on others and they can depend on me.
Yeah.
While I think with Will, the only reason he's been so useless is because these first 3 seasons are his Fellowship, and he's about to go into the next part of the trilogy.
2 Towers, man.
He's about to go into 2 Towers.
Yeah, and it's just kind of sad because Noah Schnapp's a really good actor. Like,
For sure.
Season 2, I think he was probably one of the best actors in season 2. Like he sold it. Like the whole possessed by the
Possession?
mind flayer thing. He did an
Yeah.
amazing job.
I don't know. Casey, Hallie, do you guys have any ideas on what could happen next or what you would like to see happen next?
I
in
would
the
really
series?
enjoy seeing the Upside Down more often. I mean, there's so many possibilities because we never really see it. It's a blank slate. We kind of have a feeling of what's going on there, but seeing that other supernatural side to it rather than just monster in our reality, you know? Seeing the
Yeah.
contrast of their reality in the Upside Down would be interesting for me.
It'd definitely be cool.
Yeah, and then Casey, do you have anything to add to that?
Not really. I definitely agree that we need to explore the Upside Down. I feel like they probably will push whatever that exploration to be like in the last seasons because I feel like not the charm, but like the appeal of the Upside Down is like the
Unknown, right?
Yeah, like the
Mhm.
unknown. It's like people just go there and they don't come back, or like weird things come out of there, and it's just like this whole universe that like they
Yeah.
haven't, that it's been touched, but it's mostly like untouched. You know?
It's definitely the mystery box of this
Yeah.
show. I know Charlie's
Yeah.
got some strong feelings about the mystery box.
Mystery boxes.
That-
Well, okay. So she said something that really reminded me of a topic I wanted to touch on, and that's the types of horror that they employ in this.
Oh, I think you were
season.
telling me about this a little
Yeah,
bit.
so this might get a little bit M for mature here, but she said something about the unknown. That's super Lovecraftian, and you can see the Lovecraftian design in all the monsters, where it's like tentacles and like
Yeah.
weird celestial,
Very eldritch.
yeah, very eldritch. But
Teeth.
the type of horror that I saw throughout this entire season was an H.R. Geiger style of horror, and he's the guy that did a lot of the designs for Alien, and that is sexual horror. So again, rated M for mature a little bit, but the whole
It's time to get funky.
it's time to get funky. Well, because it's a very interesting thing to talk about, and it's the fact that it just makes you so basely uncomfortable. Like a lot of the tentacles from the monsters give you that sort of vibe, or like the general sliminess of everything. And it's an interesting technique that people will employ to make you super uncomfortable when you're watching, and they did it well. Like
Yeah.
I was disturbed.
And
at a
it
lot
and
of
it doesn't need to be like I appreciate that it like something that you can label as sexual horror doesn't necessarily mean it's explicit or anything.
No,
It's
no, not at
just
all.
The
Yeah.
design and the stuff that it kind of like
Sort of brings into your
yeah,
mind,
very
like
Freudian.
yeah, very Freudian, very like it. I mean, people will say, get your mind out of the gutter. It puts your mind into the gutter and then makes you think of like, oh, this is horrible. Oh, I don't like this.
Billy.
Billy.
Oh man.
Ooh.
Oh.
When he went Bane, oh.
The scene in the very end of towards the climax, this is sort of building off Charlie, where he he like pins down 11.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
felt so
so uncomfortable.
That was
He does that for
real
all of his
bad.
And he, like,
victims too.
whispers in there. Oh, it was so
Mm-hmm.
nasty.
Yeah,
nasty.
that's the like sexual horror. It's not like he's about to like rape them or anything. It's just like this really uncomfortable feeling that you're gonna get from it.
Yeah,
It's
no.
like an intimate assault.
Yeah, very into like exactly. We're all just talking about it like because and they used it so well. They didn't overemphasize it and they didn't underemphasize it.
Yeah, they don't have to come out and say this is supposed to look like this and
Yeah,
remind you of this. It
exactly.
just kind of happens.
It just kind of happens, and I think that goes out to the very well designed creatures they did for this,
Mm-hmm.
and the very well designed just horror beasts that I don't think they touched on as strongly in the earlier seasons, but they really went
Yeah.
into this season.
I really just want to see another Demogorgon. Not gonna lie.
Really, you're
I'm
missing
ready,
the
I'm ready
Demogorgon.
for the Demogorgons to come back. I thought they were cool.
Mm-hmm.
That's just unrelated. I just wanted to say
I don't know. Rat Pack Monster's pretty cray cray.
the Rat Gang was cool. I think the Demodogs were for sure like the
Oh,
forgotten middle child. They were kind of like
middle child syndrome.
it's like let's take the Demodog,
Yeah, let's just make wolves and
crank it
add
down
some
a notch,
weird...
and then put out like 50 of them.
Yeah,
It's a new
no,
monster.
and it's like
question mark.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the less the Duffer Brothers write these episodes, I feel like the less I enjoy them. I'm like
Yeah.
the last two episodes, which were written by the Duffer Brothers, were like top tier. All of season
Mhm.
1 written by the Duffer Brothers, top tier. And then episodes like 11 goes to Chicago, which were
Like,
That was
11
not
goes
one-
to Chicago.
not written by the Duffer Brothers. It's like, man, this is you let the writers write. You know?
Mhm. Yeah, no, like, and you see that with a lot of different franchises where, weirdly enough, pairs of siblings do really well together in films. Like the Wachowskis, the Coens, the Russos, and now the Duffer Brothers. All of them are great teams together. And it's sort of the problem with a lot of TV is you might have a writer that you really like and who understands the characters, and then they bring in a guest writer, and sometimes it won't flow necessarily between the two.
Yeah.
And I get what you're saying. The Duffer Brothers, I think this is their baby, so they understand who they're writing for a little bit better than the other people. I don't really have any specific examples of that because I don't know necessarily which specific episodes
Yeah.
were directed by which people or written by
Yeah.
which people, but you definitely feel like that climax is made the way it is because of the Duffer Brothers and their passion for the project that they've created.
Yeah. The brothers Duff know what they're doing.
The brothers Duff.
Hey,
that was a Shakespearean pun right there.
or more like Brothers Grimm, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh.
Nice. That
Yeah,
was good.
Grimm Brothers are another
Yeah,
really great.
Another
sibling duo.
fantastic writing duo.
I was a little bit disappointed with the Russian Terminator in the second half.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He could have. They
Get in the
made him
chopper.
have that
in the chopper.
awesome atmosphere, and then we didn't really get to see that much, except
Mhm.
in the end scene with Hopper.
I feel like the way he died was cool. I'm glad they teased the Hellboy when he said "See you in hell" before he killed
Oh
Terminator.
my god.
That was pretty cute. That's pretty much it.
Do you think they... see, I haven't seen Hellboy, so I'm not sure how good it is, but, like, is that necessarily a good thing that they teased Hellboy?
No, neither have I.
I
I
don't
just
know.
think it's hilarious. The pretty much it running joke about Hopper canonically being Hellboy because they share an actor. I think that's the funniest thing I've ever seen.
Mhm.
And there are too many coincidences for it to not be true. Like the "See you in hell" line. How can
That's
you?
true.
Oh man, it's great. But yeah, Russian Terminator. I don't know how I feel about him. A lot of his scenes are really cool, but after like he comes back from what should be deadly injuries, around the third time that happens, I got tired of it. I was like, all right, I get it. He's the Terminator. Like,
I get it. He's the term.
I
He'll
feel like
be
he
back.
served his role. Where I think he should have died. Oh, he'll be back. Oh, you genius, Hallie. I think he should have died in the House of Mirrors scene.
He should have.
That was a great
clapped.
subversion in the House of Mirrors scene.
Amazingly
So-
brilliant. One of the moments where the cinematography and the camera work really popped off. Like,
Mhm.
and when Hopper just like popped out of what seems like nowhere through the mirrors and shot Terminator guy, I was so. And he says like a little one-liner too. I was like, dude, that's such a cool way for him to go. Like,
Yeah.
we know Hopper can't beat him in a one-on-one fight, so he outwits him with the
Mhm.
mirror house. Like,
Mhm.
that would have been perfect. But then it's like, nope. He shoves him into a meat grinder. And it was very Last Crusade-y, like, oh, push him. They're trying to wrestle and push each other into the spinny thing.
Now, is that a prequel or a sequel, James?
Last Crusade is a sequel. Temple of Doom is a
Very
sequel.
good.
I learned my lesson. Yeah, but I feel like they kind of he kind of overstayed his welcome a little bit. I feel like they could have definitely
That's true.
put him
Mhm.
off in the House of Mirrors.
Yeah.
Coolest scene.
No
That
one-
was epic.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead, go ahead.
No one aims for the head, and it's really frustrating.
Oh my
That's
gosh, yeah.
true.
No, like,
Mhm.
how do you not, like, if he's basically secret services for, like, Soviet secret services, he's going to be wearing, like, you're a police officer. You have to know he's going to
Yeah.
be wearing, like, a bulletproof vest if he's out here, like, capping people.
Captain P.
Then you have to, like, just shoot for the head or something.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like, cripple him, the kneecap. He's out.
It was point blank too. Like
Yeah.
it's
just,
not
Yeah.
like
like,
to worry that much
underneath the
about
chin.
missing.
Well, I think that might play into Hopper's, like, he's a violent dude, but I don't think he's that violent of a dude.
Yeah.
Like, I think he's
Mm.
angry, but I don't think he's the type of guy to, like, he's just shot you twice in the chest, let's go for the head sort of deal. And-
I see.
And then also he's sort of just a copper. Like, he's not gonna, he's not an
Hopper the Copper.
Hopper the
Copper.
Copper. That's his official name from now on. Rest in peace, Hopper the Copper. But, yeah, no, I don't think he's the type of guy to get angry like that. And I think, or to get so angry that he's going to shoot someone in the head. And that was a complaint that a lot of people had, is that he was really angry in this season. But
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I talked about this in the last
I think
episode.
I think we
Yeah.
did.
Did I?
Yeah, we
Okay.
did.
So then go back to the first episode if you want to see what I say on why he's so angry, where it's specifically because he's seeing 11 grow up. And then it reminds him of his daughter. So then he's like, oh, I can't lose her again.
Yeah.
So they should have emphasized him more, but yeah.
For sure.
And then what are some other things that we need to touch on before this is out?
I wanted to touch on real quickly. I guess it's not quickly. It's kind of my main problem, I guess, with Stranger Things. It didn't really pop out that much in the other two seasons because the other two seasons, I feel like since they were on a smaller scale, you don't really come into this problem so much. But to me, it's the problem of when you have as many subplots as season 3 did, which
Mhm.
was so many.
Yes.
You can't do justice to all of them. And I think that really kind of shone through a little bit, especially in the second half. There were so many times where I was just like, they would cut in like a really cool scene and cut to another subplot, like meanwhile back on the ranch. Meanwhile in the underground Russian base,
yeah.
it was just like, oh, I really would have liked to see some more from that. Like, I feel like when you have that many storylines going on at once, it's hard to give any of them the attention that they deserve.
Mhm.
And I think like a real prime example of that is like when Eleven and Billy are having their heart to heart at the very end of this movie, at the end of the TV show.
The movie.
Ooh, see, it's so good.
The sickness is taking his brain now.
Oh, I'm deteriorating.
It's reached the spinal column. It's over.
My corporeal body. But like they're having this beautiful heart to heart, and it's so like honestly touching. And then it's like cut now back to the kooky adventures of Robin and Steve in the mall, and it's like, oh,
The Scoops Troop.
yeah, it's like, oh man, I was really like into that, and then
Uh-huh.
you just kind of whiplashed me into something else. Like,
Yeah, I think that's the problem. The two subplots were really well developed, and was ultimately their downfall.
yeah, they
Because-
were both so good that they couldn't give either of them the amount of time they needed.
Mhm.
Right.
Also, little side note, the ice cream, the USS Butterscotch, pretty good. Go to Baskin-Robbins and get some USS Butterscotch going.
They're not paying us for that.
No.
No, but
We
they can.
Pay us,
You
Baskin-Robbins, do it.
can.
We're not saying no.
I'll go buy some. Maybe.
Sponsored by
I don't know.
Squarespace. No, I wish. But
Oh,
yeah, no.
That'd be the day.
I didn't get that feeling. I was pretty much entertained throughout the entire thing. I didn't feel like one subplot was above the other. Definitely, I agree with you in the fact that the newspaper, we're trying to get the reporter thing going. I didn't like that too
Oh,
much.
no,
Poor
yeah, they,
See, yeah,
it
like,
was nice they tried to input some of that feminism, but they went too hard.
Yeah.
it's like that's all she had going on,
Yeah.
and it just was not a very interesting story to follow either. Like
Mm-hmm.
They milked it way too hard.
they'd cut to that and then it'd immediately be like, that was the one time where I was like, all right, I'm ready to cut to something else. now. I've seen.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
And I think that plays into the way that the cast said to watch it, where it's like 1, 2, 3, and I think it was 4. It may or may not be 4. You can watch individually,
mhm.
but then once you hit either 5 or 4, whichever one it was, you just got to binge it all.
yeah,
And I think it's mainly because of that newspaper plotline, where once they finally merge it with the other ones, the story picks up and it starts going like, oh, we really need to see what's happening next. Or
yeah. I feel like the newspaper thing really only served to give Nancy and Jonathan some screen time and to set up the rats. I think that's
Yeah.
pretty much
Yeah.
all it was there for. It wasn't like actually there to show anything interesting. It was just there to like,
That's fair.
the rats are back.
Is there anything else that we need to quickly touch on before we leave?
I feel like the premature cutting also kind of it affects not only the subplots but also some really cool shots. Cause like, I mean, the cinematography in this show isn't anything like art house or crazy off the walls. It's pretty straightforward, shot reverse shot, you know. But sometimes they would have a really awesome opportunity for like a long take or just a really beautiful shot to hang on, but they'd give it to you for like a second. And there are two examples that were the straight ahead shot of Billy. It's like the silhouette of Billy pinning down 11, and you have the firework mind flare extravaganza happening in the background.
That was
Yeah.
beautiful.
And it's gorgeous, and you could honestly sit there for like 7 seconds, and you just soak it in. But they're just like, they use it as a transitional shot from a background to a close up, and it's like it really undercuts some, because when they do decide to go for these more unique, interesting shots, they cut away so fast, and it's like, oh man, I feel like the show would really benefit from experimenting a little more, or like the Alexi. There's a shot looking down an alleyway in the festival where Alexi is like, he's propped up against the wall, and like that would have been an awesome long take opportunity. Just let us sit there and like see the franticness of this situation, but then they cut away, and it's just like missed opportunities. I don't know.
For sure, they fell into sort of the Marvel fight scene trope of
Yeah.
we're cutting a little bit too much to be
Yeah.
you know, good.
And I think part of the reason they do that is because for a bulk of Marvel and kind of Stranger Things, none of the shots are really that intuitive or like extra fancy. It's very it's very formulaic, but it works, right?
I think they get
Yeah.
creative with the cinematography, especially their transitions. I know for a fact we
Amazing.
touched on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The transitions are cool. I guess I just mean like specific shots that they could like,
That's true.
they could afford to linger on some of their cooler shots longer than they do.
For
And
sure.
It just made me a little sad. Like, man, could have been cool. Oh,
Yeah, so we're running out of time right now. Is there anything like that we promised that we haven't gotten? We'll do rapid fire right now.
I feel like we promised that we'd talk about the Hopper narration scene at the end.
I mean, we sort of did that. I love the Hopper narration scene. I think that, again, Hopper coming back would completely undercut it. But it was the most emotional point in the entire show for me. And definitely I feel like his message was something that hit very close to home and resonated with the themes that the show was trying to go with, that entire thing, where you sort of got to grow up a little bit. Like, you love the past, you love the nostalgia of Stranger Things, but you have to grow up and be your own person. You got to, let go at the appropriate time.
It's very meta, especially because like the kids are literally getting older, and the show's going to change as a result. So as much as like me and others like to hold, others and I like to hold on to the
Very good, James.
Yeah, I'm learning. Season 1 had this really unique charm about it, but that's going to change as things go on, and people need to accept that, and I need to accept that. And I just want to say, the trope of having like a letter or something written down from earlier in the show being narrated over the ending montage is hands down my favorite trope you could do ever. In Mark Webb's The Amazing Spider-Man, there's like a text or a voicemail that Uncle Ben leaves for Peter the night that he dies, and they play it again at the end of the thing, and it's the whole great power, great responsibility thing, but they play it again at the end of the movie, and it's things like that are like, ooh, it hits me hard, and it's my favorite, and this show does it so well, and it's why Hopper doesn't need to come back. Like, this was the perfect send-off if they just showed him die, that is.
And then a little note about cliches that I want to say, because I believe very strongly in this, is that a cliche is not a bad thing in storytelling. And if you see a cliche, don't immediately write it off as, the writer's lazy here. Because if you use cliches well, that's when your story evolves and becomes better because of it. If you use them as a crutch, then it's bad. But what you said, that is a cliche, the writing and then the narration over it. Like, some people think narration is a cliche in and of itself, but it was used well, and you felt something because of it. So to deny that emotion that you felt because it's like, oh, this is a cliche, people have done this before, don't fall into that. Don't fall into the movie reviewers who are saying that.
Yeah.
Just feel what you feel, and that's what makes something good.
Right, that's what filmmaking's all about, is emotional appeal.
Popular things are popular for a reason.
Yeah.
and I am never going to apologize for liking Sam Raimi's Spider-Man. This has
All
been
right.
Socratic
All
Cinema.
right.
This has been Socratic Cinema. Thank you all so much for listening. This is wrapping up our discussion on part 2 of Stranger Things, season 3. We hope you've enjoyed this 2-parter extravaganza. I think we hope to do more stuff like this in the future with bigger projects.
For sure, yeah.
Go spread the word about the show. Thank you again for listening. We're gonna experiment a little bit. We're gonna try putting out more smaller pieces of content like video essays and mini casts like Charlie just put out.
Mhm.
And let us know if you like that sort of more regular content or if you prefer just sticking to podcasts. Of course, we're going to be carrying on the podcast. It'll always be our baby.
Yeah.
But we just want to put more material out for you guys,
Mhm.
throughout the week. So let us know what you think about that. As always, spread the word, tell your friends, like, comment, subscribe, and click the bell, and do all the
Mhm.
stuff that we're going to tell you to do.
Chill out for us. Wear T-shirts.
Wear t-shirts,
Get our
yeah.
name tattooed on your chest and send us a picture of it. That'd be very...
Shout
I'd
us
like
out.
that.
Make posts. Tell us who's your favorite member
Yes.
of Socratic Cinema.
There is a
and,
right answer here.
and why.
And
There
why.
is-
And why? Oh,
It has
wow.
to be double spaced, 12-point font times New Roman.
3 to 5 pages, please.
All right,
Please.
Mr. Russo.
5-paragraph
They're
essay.
so-
Please tell us
All
which is the
right.
favorite Socratic Cinema member and why.
Mm-hmm.
Alternatively, you could say why 3 of the members are bad. And just not talk about the 4th member. You can do either or. We're still looking for a new platform. I think we're looking at Spotify right now.
Spotify, for sure.
So be on the lookout for our migration to Spotify. We're going to keep everything on YouTube.
Yeah.
And that's where we'll put all our side content as well. But the podcasts are... Ooh, I don't know what that was. The podcasts are probably going to go up on Spotify sometime soon.
Yeah.
Um,
And you can still find them on YouTube. It will just also be on Spotify.
In addition, I should have made that more clear. Maybe in the future we'll keep expanding. I don't know. But that's pretty much all I've got
Yeah.
to say for my commercial spiel.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. The support's been great. And